Hi, welcome to Show and CLtel, the podcast where we make the digital world feel a little less complicated and a whole lot more connected. I'm Vernon Johnson, and today we're talking about something that might hit a little too close to home: phishing scams. Whether it's a shady email, a sketchy text, or a fake website that looked way too real, we've all had that moment of panic. Did I just fall for that? So, to help us sort through what to do next and how to stay safe moving forward, I'm joined by someone who knows CLTel customers and technology inside and out. Josh Eckert, CLTel Systems Administrator, and one of the good guys keeping our community connected and secure. So, if you've ever wondered what to do after clicking the wrong link or how to protect your family without becoming a full time hacker, this episode is for you. Josh, how's it going?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Good. One of the things when you and I were talking about this podcast, you mentioned something in your real world life about jujitsu and fishing. Can you help me connect those things for our listeners?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I kind of related to it because jiu-jitsu is a very hard sport to be in, and a couple of times I've asked my coach when I'm in a bad position, how do I get out of it? And he always quips back with, "Well, you should have never gotten the position in the first place." And that's kind of the way with fishing. Is it's better to just never be super cautious and just never get yourself in that position because it's a lot harder to get out.
So help our audience understand then what, let's say we got into a bad position. What are some things that we should do immediately if we find ourselves or suspect that we've been fished?
Step one is try to know where that password's been used elsewhere on all your logins. I know we're not supposed to do that. You're told, different passwords for different sites and everything, but most people don't. And they usually have like a couple passwords that they use because they're hard to remember. So the first thing would be sort of triage where things are going to be the most important. The first thing I would check is make sure that that's not a password you've used for your bank account, because that's an immediate one. If you did use it for your bank account, you've got to call that bank right away. Not only change the password, but let them know it was taken and there may be some fraudulent charges on there that you might have to take back. If you use the same password for your credit card, the same process to go through. Always immediately go for the financial stuff, because maybe getting your Facebook taken over is a bad thing. They could use that to bounce off and sell someone else or scam somebody else. But it'd be worse if you had all your money taken from you. That's a really hard thing to recover from. So then after you triaged out the really important stuff, and then next would be maybe your cell phone accounts or your Amazons or your streaming accounts. You start peeling those back, because again, those are things that the cost can add up very quickly. And then the final things that you would look at is you would look at the passwords for your secondary accounts like your Facebooks and your social medias and your Twitter, so that if you don't want them to pretend they're you and start scamming somebody else, because that's a very common tactic, is they're going to use you to try to get somebody else and then propagate on from there. And this goes without saying that you immediately have changed the password of, let's say, the email that you've used. But that's kind of how I would say to triage that sort of thing. It's not an easy process. It's going to be very detailed, but you really that's the kind of work you have to do to get out of it.
You mentioned something about how someone could use our information to, I guess, be us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what would you suggest, or is this a silly question? I mean, how can I tell if my identity, account, or device was actually compromised?
Well, at least with Facebook or social media posts, you're posting stuff, and so usually you get a history of that when you log in, and so you start looking at your past posts and say, "Well, I definitely didn't say that." And unfortunately, the way it usually happens is you got that one, friend who's kind of catched up and knows that that's not how you talk or that's not how you write, and they're going to contact you via phone or via a secondary method to say, "Hey, this wasn't you, was it?" And that's where it all snowballs from there. It's normally, unless you're paying for a service that keeps an eye on that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
if you're not sure you've been phished and maybe it was weeks ago, that's where you're going to get that found out. I mean, it happened to my poor dad years ago when he first started using Facebook. He didn't know, he got caught, and all of a sudden he was somehow being a salesman for a multi-level marketing scheme for this company on Facebook, and he had no idea.
Yikes.
And so it was something we had to pull back with him, and it was a lot of work, unfortunately.
So is it safe then to keep using, my phone or computer if I think I was phished? You mentioned some things that you should check or clean up. Can you go into more
I would
detail
say
about that?
the phone itself should probably be okay, and the computer, because unless you've downloaded some software, that's where that becomes dangerous. And that can be a next layer of attacking, is they'll get you to maybe help you. Like if I was really nefarious, I might phish your account, start playing with it, and then contact you and say, hey, I've got a system that can clean that. And that's just going to add more to the fire. But if you've just used your password and you haven't downloaded any new software or nothing's been downloaded on your computer, they should probably be okay. It's when you've added software to your phone or software to your computer, that's when things start snowballing out of control.
So you hit upon something I think is very important. And are there any other red flags? That sounds like a huge red flag. Are there any other red flags or common signs of phishing messages that people in our community should watch out for?
Oh, absolutely. The first big one is senses of immediacy. Like, you need to do this now. You need to log in now, or you're going to lose all your accounts. You're going to lose all your money. They want to get you emotional. So the second you get an emotionally charged email, like you're going to lose your money, you're going to lose your credit cards, all that, that should be an immediately stop sign for you. Say, let's pause for a second. Let's really read through this again, and then start looking at, what is this really true? A really common one in Christmas time is, because we're all trying to get presents, we've all ordered them online for the most part, and they'll say, hey, this has been blocked by the UPS or the Fed, and you got to click on this link to free it up. Well, we want to make sure our Christmas presents get there on time, but that kind of immediacy that they're asking for is an immediate sign that they don't want you to think through it. They want you to react. And so that should be the stop sign to tell you, okay, I got to stop here and I got to look at this, and I've got to get myself not into that bad position that I'll have to work myself out of.
Nice. Now, are there things that you're doing at CLtel to ensure that employees like myself are not putting ourselves and our teammates into bad positions?
Absolutely. We actively try to phish you guys. We have a nice little company that we work with, and they automatically, using some different AI tools and news articles that are going on and different things in the industry, will try to actively get you guys to click on bad things. And when they do it, thankfully, it just gets recorded to us. You guys get a little extra training, and a little bit of embarrassment because it says, oh, shucks, we got you this time, which is, again, a safe way to do it. That's how you want to be. And it seems kind of rude, because we'll make it look like it's coming from HR. We'll make it look like it's coming from the CEO. Because if I wanted to scam you, I'm not going to say, hey, I'm a scammer. I'm going to say, I'm the CEO of either your company or another company, and you need to do this. I mean, so that's the way it should be done. And so by actively doing that, it's just like anything else. It's just a constant training. It's a constant frame of mind. And so people here at CLtel are really good about being cautious with their emails and what they see and what they click on. It's been a very helpful thing. So if you're a small company, invest in some sort of like automated testing system. There's many companies out there that do it, and the cost is well taken care of by the safety that you're going to get out of it.
So then you hit upon something else, and this is a great segue point. What are 3 things from either an individual or from a business that you would suggest that I could do right now to decrease the chances that I could be phished in the future?
First things first is get some training, and there are free training. You don't have to pay for that. YouTube has a ton of great training about what phishing looks like, what it acts like. I'm looking at this as an employer side right now. So that'd be the first thing, is how do you identify what a phishing email is and what do they look like? For a personal person, maybe you would want to watch the whole YouTube video, but again, just remember, keep that key in your head that if it's an emotionally charged email, if it's asking for action right away, that's a stop sign for you. That should be, no, I got to pause. And then the second thing, it's a fancy name called kill chain, but really what it means is there's a chain of events you have to go through to get fully phished sometimes. And if you just stop, and let's say it's your bank saying you've got to click on this, otherwise you're going to lose your account or it's going to be locked and you can't access your funds. Well, rather than click on that link, the better thing to do is to call the published number of your bank. Say, hey, I've got this message. I don't know what it is. And they'll probably tell you that's not true. Because if it is a real thing like that, someone at the front desk is definitely going to know that. And they'll be able to answer that question. So that's how you stop yourself from getting phished or being drawn into harder and harder things, is to think about things offline that can still give you the same information. And the easiest thing is call that published phone number, talk to a customer service representative. If it's coming from a supposed salesperson at that company, never call any of the contact information at email. That all has to be considered compromised. You call the main number and you just ask for the person and let the CSRs go for it. Our CSRs do this all the time. If they ask for you or me, they'll hunt us down. I mean, that's the whole point. And that keeps you from calling a bad number, going on a bad link. It kind of reminds me of a new tactic that's been going on that's attacking people who use Office 365. And they'll click on a supposed shared account, a shared document, and that'll overtake their account, and then it'll start propagating again. Well, if you just email that person back and say, hey, is this real? Well, it's actually going to the bad person because they've already overtaken that person's account. And so they're going to reply, well, yeah, of course it's legit. Go ahead and open it. So that's why it's like you kind of have to go offline and move laterally away from the message and get your confirmation somewhere else.
Okay. So if let's say that again, I have been compromised, can you just tell what are the 3 to 5 major points then that you need to take? And this kind of encapsulates what we've discussed already, but these are the 3 must things or 5 things you must do if you feel that you've been phished.
So if I was, let's say my mom came and asked me about this, the things I would suggest immediately, you need to change your password, and it cannot be just your password you had with a couple extra characters at the end. That's not good enough. It has to be a completely different password, and it has to be very complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated for the human mind. It has to be complicated for a computer. So a thing I personally do is I do movie quotes as my passphrase. They're really long. And the thing is, I always remember my movie quotes wrong. So they're actually even more secure. So you can't even guess the right movie quote I'm using because I'm never doing it right. But it works for my mind. And I make full sentences with spaces and punctuation and commas and all that stuff. And that helps me. And you get a 40-character password really easily. And it seems like a lot. Yeah, but it's not like super complicated numbers, letters, and all this other stuff. I'm using, again, things that I like. So I would do that, immediately change it to that. And then, again, step two, go to those financial institutions first. Make sure that that password was not used in anything that could take finances or resources from you immediately. And then scale it back to the things that maybe are not as impactful, like social media. And then when you're in social media, make an announcement. Tell everyone, hey, I got phished. Don't take anything that the last few posts. If it's unsure, it might not be me, and contact me, through my phone or whatever. Those are kind of the big 3 I would do immediately: is change it so it can't be done. Change the passwords for your really big financial stuff. And then when it comes to social media, change it, but then also announce it so people are aware so that they don't get taken in case they used your account to further their attack.
Now, this might be a silly question. So I'm in Clear Lake, Iowa, been phished. You said contact my bank. So is an email suffice, or what specifically do I need to call that direct line, or do I walk into the bank, or what?
I would either walk in or call. Okay. Email is too not asynchronous. It can sit there for minutes, an hour, and in a few minutes. Granted, they can try to retrieve that money back over time, and within a few days they should be able to. But if it's, let's say they clear out your checking account, you're kind of stuck until they get that money back. So if it takes an hour, that's a long time to start exfiltrating stuff. So if you think you've done it and it doesn't feel right, and you know that password's used elsewhere, I would call or walk in and just let them know what happened, and they should immediately be able to reset the password for you for your account and start everything anew. And that's the best way to go about it.
Perfect. And just one more plug for CLtel. If I'm a CLtel customer and something comes across my CLtel email, definitely call our CSRs or what?
Absolutely. They are very well trained in what to look for. And if they aren't entirely positive, they're more than happy to come back here and talk to us guys in the network operations center.
Okay.
And we're more, especially when it comes to things like phishing and possible attacks like this, we're really sensitive to this. And so we're more than willing to go look at this stuff. If
Awesome.
you see something that claims it's from CLtel telling you got to change your password, give us a call. We'll definitely look into that.
Well, good. Well, listen, a big thanks to you, Josh, and thank you for joining us today and making this aspect of cybersecurity, phishing, feel hopefully a little less intimidating. So for more tips on staying safe online, you can check out the show notes or visit cltel.com. And then if this episode helped you, please share it with someone who might need it too. Until next time, I'm Vernon Johnson. Stay connected and yes, stay safe. You've been listening to Show and CLtel. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.